Welcome back, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. I am Dean with Massabesic Gold and Silver, and today we are looking at the Canadian 5-cent piece from World War II. These are beautiful pieces, but before we get started, please remember to like and subscribe to our channel, turn on notifications so you get up-to-date content from us, and please share our videos with other folks that you think would enjoy them. Well, starting in 1922, Canada started making 5-cent pieces out of 100% nickel. This 1941 that I'm showing you here is a well-known design. You can see a little die clash here, just a side note, next to the second A, just above it. You can see that little die clash, which is, again, very common on a lot of Canadian coins. But anyway, a little side note there. But there's some other examples of these die clashes. You can see here a little bit bigger one, and all that die clash is like we've talked about before. This is where the planchet is there's a failure there of feeding it into where the dies will come together in the minting process, and so what ends up happening is the two dies will actually strike one another, and the image of one side of that die or one of the dies will end up on the other die, and then when the process is fixed and the planchets go back in correctly, and when they're struck, here we have King George's chin and neck on the reverse of this coin. So, again, it's just kind of fun, but I don't want to dwell too much on these die clashes, but it's a fun little side note just to look at. But as I was saying, so since 1922 in Canada, all 5-cent pieces were made of 100% nickel. And why was that a problem? Well, by 1942, the war was waging around the world, and nickel was absolutely an important component, especially in making stainless steel and other alloys that were needed during the wartime. So despite actually having produced a 100% nickel in 1942. I'm going to throw up an example here. That despite making that 100% nickel halfway through the year after minting, I think it was 6 million or so. Actually, I think it was 6,847,000 and plus or minus. They had minted these. They ceased production of this and started production on a new design for a 5-cent piece for 1942. So for the year 1942, you will find both the 100% nickel, and then you will find the new design, which is made of a brass alloy called a Tombac. The Tombac was actually based on the British three-penny piece that was first issued in England in 1937. Here's a great example. The reason why this was changed, having the 12 sides, is because Tombac actually tarnishes very quickly. So they turn brown very fast. So they wanted to make sure that rather than a smooth rim, they didn't want anyone confusing this to be a penny. So hence why we see the 12 sides there. Again, this is King George VI. Here he is with no crown. This is a great example of a Tombac. It still has, most of the red here, despite the fact that these do tarnish very easily. And most of the time when you find these in old collections, they'll already be quite brown. Some even take on a very greenish color with the brown, and they're not exactly pleasing to the eye. If you can find it in this red state, I highly recommend getting it. It's a beautiful coin. As you can see, again, the classic beaver design on the reverse. Perhaps the most famous, despite being one of the favorite reverses of a Canadian coin. By 1943, it was completely redesigned by the chief engraver, Thomas Shingles, who created a whole new reverse for the 5 cent piece, and especially for the Tombac. As you can see here in this example, there's a torch. That torch represents sacrifice. Behind the torch is a V. The V actually was inspired by two different things. One was the Prime Minister of England at the time, Winston Churchill, who famously put his two fingers up in the air in the shape of a V to represent victory. He had done that many times after that speech as well. There's many famous pictures of him doing that. And also, it is the Roman numeral for 5, which was inspired by our very own V nickels that were in production through, was it 1883 to 1912. Again, this is a beautiful design. The TS there for Thomas Shingles. And along the edge here, along the rim, you'll see that they've replaced the denticles, the typical denticles, with a dot dash pattern. That is not a mistake or a coincidence. That is Morse code. And the Morse code reads, "We win when we work willingly." So there is so much messages going on here, and this new design for victory to inspire the Canadian people as well as the world to win World War II. The same design was used in 1944, but as you can see, the alloys changed. We went to a steel alloy with a thin plating of nickel and a thin plating of chrome. Again, that was for multiple reasons. The most important of those reasons was that they needed copper and zinc for the war effort. And as we all know, in the United States, our own 1943 1 cent wheat penny was changed to steel. So looking at this, you can see there's a little imperfection here in the process right by that maple leaf, which is kind of fascinating to look at. Despite that mint era, though, this is a nice coin to look at. I will show you one more little piece here down along the rim. If you can spot it there, I'm going to freeze it so you can see it. That is corrosion, which is very common with these. So you have to be watchful when collecting these, because that will knock the grade. Actually, it won't knock the grade. It will become a details coin because that is corrosion. That is damage. So despite this having some really nice luster and looking beautiful because of that corrosion, it really wouldn't be worth having it graded, and you might not want it in your collection if you were to get these. By 1945, we have the same design. Here's a beautiful example. This has no corrosion on it. Really flashy. I will say you do have to watch out for re-chromed 5 cent pieces, just like the 1943 American 1 cent that get re-chromed and then sold as mint state. These sometimes will as well. So make sure that you see that cartwheel. Make sure you see that original mint luster on these. This is a very high grade. I graded this myself at a MS65. I don't think I'm off from that. It might hit MS66 if I sent this in to get graded. I don't know. I don't think it would, but you never can tell. Again, though, this is just a beautiful design by Thomas Shingles, and just so much meaning, so much history, very much like our war nickels. That change, it connects real world events with our money, and that's just amazing. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope that you keep coming back for more. And as always, until we meet again, stay safe and enjoy.